Hey everybody, welcome to episode 7 of Return to Krynn, our D&D actual play. After our last episode, the companions get a bit of rest. They get a night after performing their good deed for the day. They move on further in their journey towards Palanthas across the plains of Garland, and then they run into the elven refugee camp. What Voss's newfound abilities allow them to discover there triggers an investigation that leads Keryl into a bit of a dark place. Let's see what happens. Solinari is getting much higher in the sky. Now, as the night falls on this next night, Voss does get a small glimpse here and there of the spirits of the knights and the wizard, but it's only fleeting. Like, they're there from what you hear of a small tinge of conversation. It's almost like they're repeating the same conversation they had the night that you were with them. Where's Alhana? She should be here. What is going on with that? They seem confused. And then, like, as you go to approach them, clouds kind of obstruct the view of the moon, and they fade. You don't see them again that night. You can feel them. You know they're there. You just can't see them. And you can't hear them anymore.
I'll still hang out a bit and roll some dice, just in case they can see me, and I can't see them.
Okay. The next day, you guys get up. Everything passes normally. You guys are on the road. You pass a group of 3 riders that it looks a little strange. They are all wearing like nice studded leather armor. And by nice, I mean it's not a usual farmer's like armor that's been passed down from generation to generation. That's what's relatively new. It's lived in, it's obviously worn, but they're riding these 3 like dark furred ponies. They're just kind of like galloping very slowly or trotting along the road, coming from the north, swooping onto the road itself, coming from behind you guys. They ride past you and they just kind of look over at your wagon. They look in the back. They're 3 humans. They're wearing this armor. You can see they have, each one has a sword on their left hip. They've got a bunch of scroll cases, though, on the side of their saddles. So something you expect probably couriers to carry. But they're definitely eyeing the wagon as you guys are being passed by them.
I'll just have since I'll probably be up front with whoever's driving, I'll just kind of give them a smile and a wave, just so it's almost like that deterrent, like, we noticed you too. Hi, how you doing? Don't fuck with us type deal. We'll keep going. You keep going.
Sybil's like sitting like on the backside of the wagon watching the road behind them. So like when they kind of like come around and like passing and eyeing, she kind of looks over and just kind of gives them the side like, fuck's your problem.
Do you want to roll intimidation, or are you just going to just let it be?
Like, unless they're like looking really hard, I'm gonna let them just pass by. But if they are looking kind of like a little too close to the wagon, I will roll that intimidation.
That's a bit of an insight roll in my mind, because this is one of those like, they could just be looking, but they could be looking. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm not gonna risk it. Yeah, I'll give them the piss off eyes.
Okay. Holding that glaive, just shink. Sharp. Ho. 18.
That's an 18.
Very nice. You will kind of give him a look and casually sharpen the edge of the glaive, like that little slow shink. And you'll see one of the guys in the middle of the trio just kind of like nudge his partner like and shake his head and just nod ahead of them. And they'll slowly accelerate a bit as the trot becomes a gallop and they get settled into a canter as they leave and just head farther west of you guys, leaving you unmolested for the next day of travel.
Like, oi, fuck off.
And then Day just kind of waves and smiles as they take off. Okay.
We were just leaving.
We're couriers, guys. Just couriers. Just traveling about our day. You guys actually get to about your 5th day of travel before anything else changes. Things have been going pretty well. It's just, again, that tedious, boring, just drawn out travel where it's just day after day of seeing the same countryside. Things progress a bit, obviously, as you guys are moving, but it's just, you're just seeing plains after plains. You see that you're getting further away from the mountains and the forest behind you, which is always a welcome sight, but you're still not quite at a point where you are fully out of Gardland. You guys move a good stretch and you're heading towards Vingard Keep. Now, Vingard Keep, as you guys are traveling, is be where essentially Liam's taking you. he lets you know that his idea is to take the Knight's High Road into Palanthas. That's going to cut your travel time. So he wants to cross the river by Vingard and the keep and just head straight to the road and take the road. One, it's highly patrolled, and two, the roads will make it go a lot faster.
No, I'm down with that. I mean,
Nice.
crossing, when you're fording a river by keep, that's under watch.
Well, it's the ruins of Vingard Keep, so there's that. However, Vingard's close by. You can probably be sure there's going to be some sort of watchtower or something of that nature by the river for it, so that's not something that he's too concerned about. Roughly, I'd say the second half of the day. Day 5. This is April 3rd. You guys are starting to come to a little bit of a hilly area as you can see the rivers down below you on either side. But as you kind of come to the top of this small rolling hill, down below you, you see this field of tents, white tents, kind of laid out. And as the sun's starting to descend a bit into the west, it's casting this red orangish light across them all. Voss, you feel a lot of pain and suffering emanating from that place right now. It's probably about 100 yards below you guys on the hill where you're at, this small decline that kind of rolls down to a flat area before the river. And you just feel the air saturated with this sorrow and sadness. Can't put your finger on what exactly it is, but there's something terrible that either is happening or has happened there.
Yeah, I'll be like visibly uncomfortable. Is that the direction that we're heading? Like,
Yes, it's just a little bit off the road from where you guys are at.
I'll like nudge Dade kind of as we're getting like close to where we'd be passing by. Yeah, I'm gonna run over and see if anybody has seen anything in the area over in these tents. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, real quick, before you go, just kind of, I know you know how to do your thing, but just keep it chill. And I'll whistle real quick, just kind of a light little tune, and I'm gonna hit him with bardic inspiration.
So you guys descend the hill and start kind of to go down that decline, and Liam's just kind of humming to himself in the wagon, the driver's seat, and he sees Voss kind of spring off the back and start heading out that way, and he's like, "Hey, where's your fucking friend going? Where are you going?"
Hey, he'll be right back. He's gonna go check something out. He'll be right back.
What's he checking out?
I don't know. He didn't tell me. He just said he need to go check something out real quick.
All right, well, you better hurry up because we're gonna slow down to a trot. But if you're not here by the time we pass you, then you're fucked.
Throw up a thumbs up as I head off in that direction.
What's that?
Since I'm gonna have for him to watch after him.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, more eyes the merrier in my book. All right. So you send your Raven out, and you'll see Liam will slow down the wagon to like a slow trot with the horses. So you're just kind of moving just at a casual like walking pace essentially as you guys start to pass this like massive field of tents. And the Raven hits the air and starts flying towards that direction, and you're getting the impressions back that it feels that this little settlement here, that's all empty. There's nothing there. There's nobody in the tents. And as Voss gets closer, he sees this body on the ground. Looks like it was heading back in towards the rows of tents. There's a short sword that's stuck into the ground, and the corpse's hand is grasping the hilt of the short sword like it was trying to pull itself back up from where it got struck down. And there are arrows, these blackened arrows all over its back, like 3 or 4, just embedded into its back. And that's when the sun starts to completely set, and you hear this wailing from inside this series of tents, this crying. And as you watch, Solinari's light is high in the skies. It's starting to come over the horizon now, and you'll see from where that corpse is holding onto the sword, this ghostly image of an elf stands up and looks down at his body and starts crying.
I'll give him a second to cry, and then eventually I'll say, "What happened here?"
He looks shocked. Like you'll see his body kind of tense in the ethereal like form that it's holding, and he looks over his shoulder at you. They killed all of us. They dragged us off. Those they didn't kill, and I can't get my family.
Who's they?
Hobgoblins and goblins, an ogre.
Do you know where they went?
He'll just point north of the camp, towards the river.
Towards the river. Do you know how big of an encampment they have?
I didn't see how many there were. I got shot from behind when I was trying to come help everybody.
Do you have? Is all of your family there? Or did you have family here still too?
They got dragged away. And he'll reach down like he's trying to grab his sword again. You can feel that building frustration that you can't do it. For your Raven's reporting back to you that the Voss human's talking to nothing. He's talking to a dead body.
Does Voss normally do that?
Boss normally do what?
Normally do what?
He's talking to a dead body.
Rin looks up. He's like,
No,
what?
but why are there dead bodies? Oh, hold up. Stop this trade.
Dead bodies, what?
What? Am I going? Am I stopping? What the fuck?
No, there might be trouble. There might be trouble. I'll hop off.
All right, fine.
And I'll start making my way down towards where Voss went.
So you'll hop off and start heading that direction. Liam will stop the horse. He's like, but who's going to stay with the fucking wagon?
It's like I'll shout, "Hey, I'm still back here, all right?"
Well, no, I okay, fine. We'll all stay here. You go. And he'll point at Dade as he's already walking off.
Now, keep walking.
While Voss is talking to this ghost and watching him try to wrench this blade out of the ground, which you know is futile, you hear the crunch of grass behind you. And overhead, you hear the slight jittering of clockwork wings as they sweep by you and over the rest of the encampment, doing like a circle to kind of like get an eye on this entire area. So for Jorg, there's probably about, I'd say 15 tents here. Most of the size you'd expect to have 2 or 3 people inside of. So they're not individual tents. They're actually larger sized tents. But your bird does report back there are at least 5 or 6 bodies that it has seen. Looks like they've been victims of violence.
When I hear the crunch behind me, I'll like instinctively, my hand will go to my blade and I'll turn.
You'll see Dade.
I'll just hold a hand up. Just me. What's going on, man? And I'll kind of survey the area.
A little bit north of here, there's a hobgoblin encampment. There's an ogre too, I think. They've dragged off the people in this encampment that they haven't killed. Kids, families.
Well, I mean, we gotta go help, right?
Yeah.
We can't just let kids and family, anybody, be captives if we can help it.
Especially not this close to the road.
Have we traveled far enough? Does this seem like potentially the small Silvanesti encampment that the dwarf was talking about?
This is definitely direction. He said it was just before you guys hit the river, and you guys are probably about 50 miles out from the river. If less, if that much, you know.
I'll bring that up. I'll be like, this seems very much like the encampment that the dwarf was talking about where he got the wine. We're not far from the river. This is north.
This ghost, he did say he's an elf, right?
Oh yeah, he's an elf. The corpse itself has this long, dark hair. His skin's a bit paler. He does kind of fit the description of a Silvanesti.
All right. Yeah, I think you might be right. Which means that not only is he in trouble, but anybody who's traveling in this direction is in trouble. If they're bold enough to just take out this encampment, they're going to be bold enough to attack travelers passing by as well. We probably just missed them. We would have been already attacked ourselves.
I'll go up and get everybody else.
All right.
It sounds like something we'll need backup for. So I'll turn around. I'll start heading back up towards where we parked the caravan.
You get up there in just a few moments. Liam's sitting in the front of the wagon, like, all right, so what's
So there's an encampment not far from here that was hit, and there's a bunch of people dead down there. Any of the survivors we think have been drug off, women, children. So
all right, so we can
help.
let Vingard keep know when we cross the river, and they can send out people to handle that.
Listen, you might be okay with letting people be taken against their will by things that you know are going to do terrible things to them. I'm not okay with that, especially not children.
I'm not saying I'm okay with it. What I am saying is we have a duty to take this back to Palanthas. And I'm also saying that we're not equipped for excursions. Aye?
Can we hear this in the back of the wagon?
Yep.
Oh, I'm not being silent.
Yeah, no, 100% you guys can hear it.
Nizdrith is actually going to climb out past Sybil.
Well, however you feel, I understand. And I also understand if you need to take this wagon and leave while we're helping people, because that's what I'm going to do. You're
hired to guard this caravan to Palanthas. You're not hired to go off gallivanting into the woods.
Walk around the back to where Dade's at.
Well, I don't care what you're paying me. My morality and how I feel is more important than any of your steel. So I'm going to go and help. And if
that's fine,
that requires you not to pay me.
But we can get better equipped people to come handle this. We are not equipped for this.
We weren't equipped to be attacked by an ogre and several other cutthroats, but we handled ourselves just fine. Like I said, I understand if you don't want to come, and I'll do my best to catch up with you.
Someone's got to
But I'm
stay
going
here
to
with
help.
this. Because I can't just leave the bodies of my dead friends.
That I
Right?
agree with. Absolutely. That I absolutely agree with. I'll just kind of shrug and be like, stick around. You know, you and Rin can stay here and keep an eye on everything. We'll be back shortly. Hopefully this doesn't take long. From what we've gathered, we don't think this encampment is far from here.
You
So
see,
hopefully this will be a quick excursion.
you see Rin hop out of the back of the wagon as well. And he walks around to the area where like Nizrith has gone to, where Dade's standing. And he looks up at Liam and he goes, listen, I appreciate what you're saying, but I can't let, like him, and obviously like Nizrith, I can't let that just stand. We've got to do something.
Sybil is in the back, and she's clearly pressing her head to her forehead. It's like, God. Oh, God.
I'll whistle an unseen servant into existence, and I'll just direct it into the back and tell it to defend.
Okay,
And I'll look back up at him. Now someone's here.
just do what you got to do. Is anybody staying with me? I mean, I don't mind. I can do it on my own. I'm a fucking knight, but you need to know who's getting bonuses and who's getting cut. Aye?
I'm not being paid at all.
Clearly, you're not being talked to then, love.
Am I not one of the things you have to carry there?
Technically, no. Because you're carrying yourself. But, you should come back. But if you're going to go on this little side adventure here, just be fucking careful.
Would it not be in your interest to then come with us to ensure that I do make it back?
I have to stay here and guard the rest of them. And he kind of points in the back.
She'll point at the unseen servant.
It's one
Yeah,
little
I'll
thing.
just hold up a hand. I agree with him. Somebody does need to stay, and if I fully expected him to be the one to stay. Is what I'm saying. So I'm gonna go. Anybody who wishes to come with, please do. If not, please stay here. We'll be back hopefully soon. And I'll turn and I'll start walking.
Yep, I'm gonna follow.
Nisdrith is obviously going.
Okay.
Watching everybody.
We're gonna
goes,
come back and Liam's gonna be splayed out to the fucking tacked up to the fucking thing.
It's like,
He's a knight. He can handle it.
I'm just saying it's been a couple days and we didn't show up with ourselves. I'm just saying.
You will see, as you guys are heading out, Rin will take a moment. He'll cast alarm around the wagon, like a little bit out, so to give him an extra warning.
I'll give my unseen servant a dagger. At least
This
maybe
little
it'll
floating dagger.
be able to shiv a dude before it dies.
Is everybody going, or is the party splitting?
I'm going.
no, that's a terrible question,
Nah, these
man.
guys can't survive without me. Obviously.
Obviously.
Like, on the one hand, Sybil's kind of sitting there going, I really don't want to deal with whatever bullshit they're going to do, but I'd feel bad if something happened while she wasn't there. On the other hand, leaving Liam by himself is just kind of like,
He's a knight. He can handle it.
I have to go because women and children were captured, and Kamel Shah has pretty much let us know that we need to heal where we can, and they're gonna need it.
in good conscience, she can't leave the wagon. It's like she's
Perfect.
she's built herself up to be a mercenary, and mercenaries who don't complete their jobs don't get future jobs. So
That's true.
Hey, honorable intentions count.
Fair enough.
you gotta stay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going.
You'll see that as everybody starts heading off towards this small encampment at the bottom of the hill, Liam pulls out his blade and just starts sharpening it very calmly. He's not angry. He's letting it go off. Like he doesn't have a negative thing to say about it. He's just like, okay. And just starts setting to sharpen his blade. Once he's working on his long sword, he also pulls out 3 daggers and starts dealing with the edges of those. He is very business when he's out there by himself with him and Sybil. Sybil will basically watch her companions kind of fade into the darkness. Their outlines and their silhouettes just kind of standing out against the grass from Solinari's light. And the life of the night starts to kind of erupt around you as now all movement has stopped for the most part as the rest of the party leaves. And it's peaceful, oddly. And in that peacefulness, though, you just hear that constant shink, shink as Liam's sharpening his weapons.
Familiar sound for her, so she's gonna. She feels uneasy about it, but she's watching the road behind them since Liam's up at the front of the cart.
For those that descend down into this encampment, you start approaching Voss and you see this elven corpse on the ground. Jorg got the description of this already from his bird, and you start making your way through these tents. They're set up in rows, and as you kind of walk among them, you can see there's probably 4 or 5 corpses of individuals. There's a woman who is wearing armor who has a spear broken off in her back and impaled to the ground. You can see another male elf, probably another warrior, who's half crushed by a massive rock in the middle of the encampment. There are signs of small toys like stuffed animals and like carved like wooden toys scattered among the tents and the rows. There were families here. It all intents and purposes looks like a small encampment of refugees, such as the dwarf described to you. You can see a tent that's set up for like a communal eating area. There's a small like bar they put up there made out of like crates, and there are a couple of other like casks of that wine. You can see the writings the same are on the barrels. It looks like this happened probably mid-meal because you can see there's still food on some of the tables inside that larger tent. But there are definitely a lot of tracks leading off to the north. Now, for Voss, as you pass some of these corpses, you can feel the spirits more than see them. They're still clinging to their bodies. They're confused. They're, shock of being killed, which lets you kind of put together these are all recent deaths. This must have happened just with today, really.
Before I go, and before everyone catches back up, I'll reassure the elf whose spirit that I can see that I will do what I can to bring his family back, and hopefully that puts him at rest. And then I will ask his name.
As you ask him his name, he looks surprised. Everante Moonfall.
Boss Ravenblade. I hope to be back soon.
He'll just nod at you, and you can see that your promise of going to get his family seems to have helped. He's a little more calm. He's no longer trying to clutch at that sword that he can't pick up. And he will fade as your companions start to approach. But as he fades, it's like he intends to. He just gives you a quiet nod and slowly becomes more and more transparent and then translucent, and he's gone as your companions arrive.
Pop open my book, jot the name down, put the book away, and then we'll head on when everybody catches back up.
So you all continue on north past this area, and you basically come up on a smaller hill, and as you hit the crest of that hill, you can see the silhouettes of these ruined buildings, maybe like 100 or so yards away from you, maybe like 200 actually is more accurate, but you can see the ruins of all these fallen buildings collapsed. It looks like it was at some point probably an outpost, maybe back from the days of the War of the Lance. Who really knows these things, but it's definitely a field of ruined buildings. And you can see movement down there and the occasional small campfire being lit.
As we start seeing it, Nizdrith will look down at Jorg. Can bird friend look?
So the raven flies up overhead, and you can see as you kind of watch its trajectory, as you look up, you can see the moonlight of Solinari glinting off its wings as it kind of sweeps out to the east and then north, and it starts to do like a circuit around the camp. And what it's sending back to Jorg is essentially there are 2 ogres here. One seems to be fiddling with dead bodies, the closest one to you. Another one further up north is by a fallen tower, and it looks like it's just looking around. There's one human by that ogre, but it reports back there's about 6 or 7 goblins and 2 or 3 hobgoblins as it sweeps around. Give me like a good overlay of the land here. Now, overall, it looks like what you're coming onto was the setup of a bunch of older buildings and 2 watchtowers that have long since collapsed, either by violence or just, bad weather, etc. Who knows what makes these buildings kind of fall through. But you can see towards the north, there's a large set of stairs that goes down to was probably the basement of some massive building with a tower attached of its own. And there's also an area where part of the ground's missing, and there's a massive hole.
Is the bird able? I'll look at Jorg. Is your creation able to see where these elves are being held, maybe, or potentially where they're being held?
I mean, you can look in windows. Put that.
I mean, any info is better than none, right?
Yes.
So we know about the goblins, the hobgoblins, and ogres. We didn't hear anything about elves. So if there's nobody here,
What if they are down below? there are stairs. What if they're
Well, then
under the keep?
that's why I'm asking if the bird can go look.
Ah.
Well, what if we can utilize like what your ability is and my ability to utilize prestidigitation to make a noise on the other side of the camp, so we could potentially draw them there and sneak down those stairs. Maybe have him post up in a tree off to the west side of camp. Draw them because there's that ogre.
Distraction? Yes,
Yeah,
we can do distraction. That's good enough.
Well, I think what we could do is I could try and sneak my way up over to the east over here, sticking behind coverings as I can. And then once the distraction hits and it draws the attention of the ogre up there, then I can sneak the rest of the way and get to the stairs. Or whoever's coming. I don't know. I'm pretty sneaky. I don't know about anybody else.
I figured we'd all go.
I am not sneaky.
Oh.
That's why the distraction is needed.
Oh,
If we
yeah.
can draw them all
distraction is
away.
Definitely needed.
right.
I clink when I walk.
So, as you guys descend and get a little bit closer to this encampment, the building that's directly in front of you that has an ogre that you can see above the ruined walls looks like it used to be a temple or a church of some type. It's got, roughly 2.5 of the walls that are still kind of partially standing. The far wall that's pointing to the north and the south wall are kind of there. You can see the rocks go up probably about a good, I'd say 4 or 5 feet before the wall is broken down and just kind of disappears into the grass. You can see that massive ogre that's in there. It seems to be picking up bodies, like humanoid bodies, looking at them, tossing them down. Looks like it's sorting almost. To the west of that, there's a down statue of a horse, and just beyond that, looks like it was another building that was probably 2 stories at some point because there's a collapsed series of stone stairs that would lead up to a second floor. But there is no second floor. There's maybe 3 walls that are partially standing, and inside you can hear those noises of somebody rummaging around inside that building. North of that, you have some collapsed towers around trees. You have a couple of small pillars that are still standing. It's just a motley assortment of rock outcroppings that were once man-made, but now have been torn down by time. And there are there are patches here and there of stonework on the ground that has kind of been taken over by the earth and the dirt. That leaves it to where you can probably walk across more softly than just walking across rock. But as Keryl gets closer down here, this feeling of dread fills your soul. Something about this place is wrong.
This is not a good place.
I could also, if the distraction doesn't work, I can attempt to put that closest ogre. If we can't sneak by him, I can try and lullaby him to sleep.
I can make him laugh.
I mean, we have options here, so let's start using them. Why don't you set up that to let's say the northwest side of that camp. Have the bird make some noise, see what it can draw.
What I'd actually like to do is I want to use the tinkering trick, and I'm going to create. I'm going to have a stone that I'm wrapping some leather straps with some arcane symbols on it around, and when it gets let go, it's going to make the sound of a baby crying, and I'm going to have the bird drop that in the opposite direction of where we're going to be, basically.
Okay, so is the idea to go around to the east side and then cast a distraction on the west side of this ruins, or what's the thought here, guys?
I believe that was my understanding.
So you got this old ruined building that looks like it was probably at some point a storage building, and it's completely dilapidated and fallen over. There's a couple of old crates in there from what York can get from his bird, and then you got this small series of trees on the outside that would make a good perch for it to set things up with. Now, there's not a lot of camp in here, but There's not a lot of light here at all, except from the moons. But you do see the goblins in the smaller former 2-story building. They're starting to set up like a campfire there. Looks like they're settling in to just kind of sit down and start a campfire. They don't look like they're on alert. Nothing here looks like it's on alert, by the way.
I am going to very quietly invoke a prayer to the Blue Lady. Dade, Voss, and Nisrith, you are all blessed.
Nisrith will actually pull out 2 daggers And she seems to be weirdly proficient with them.
You guys will see as everybody's preparing and like Keryl whispers this prayer. Rin, who's with you, kind of flicks his right wrist, and you'll see a dagger fall into place in his hand.
Yeah, I'll pull out my. I believe I have a rapier.
And he'll
I
look
think.
over at the lot of you and say, "Listen, all the spells I have that can attack are going to be noticeable. So I'm going to take my cue from the rest of you when we're going to actually engage. So no worries on that, okay?"
Right. We're going to try and do this quietly and without incident
I will
for
do
as
the
long
same.
as possible first. If we hit anybody singularly, I'm going to try and put them to sleep. So try and be quiet. We're on you, York. As soon as that happens and people start moving, we'll move in a line. Do our best. Voss, you lead the way.
You'll hear Rin whisper under his breath as he casts a spell, and for a brief moment in the light of the moon, you'll see his outline shimmer as he
Mage armor.
casts mage armor, and then it fades from view and is just settled into his body. The baby crying prestidigitation, that's being set off, yes?
Yeah.
The
All
baby
right.
crying rock.
So the baby crying rock gets put into place the far northwest corner of the encampment, and as soon as that happens, you will hear this rustling of activity. And the bird will report back to York that the goblins that were right there in that storehouse start rushing to the west, and they're just chittering amongst themselves in their own like guttural language. That catches the attention of the human who's by the fallen tower.
As soon as that happens, anyways, I'll just give Voss the nod to lead the way, and hopefully we all follow.
This is going to be a stealth roll 100% for Voss.
Yep.
I apologize in advance, everyone.
Yeah, this is going to be a series of stealth rolls for everybody involved here.
Well, I have things if I don't get stealthy enough.
You guys also have a ton of 25.
25.
You're a ghost, sir.
Holy Jeebus.
You are as much of a ghost as the people you talk to.
And the rest of us need to roll as well, yes?
Let's do Voss's movement first, and then we'll go one at a time after that. So as Voss moves to the east, and he starts kind of skirting it within a couple of feet of the southernmost fallen wall of that church, looking inside with the light of the moon, you can see that it's a bunch of dead elves that are in there. There's probably 4 or 5 bodies of elves in that church that this ogre seems to be playing with. Like, it's looking them up, it's taking like belt pouches off them, putting them in one pile, and just tossing the bodies to the side. Let's go ahead and do Nizrith next. Roll your stealth.
18.
18 is much more respectable as your Warforged self manages to start moving very, very silently. You guys can
I'm
move.
moving and clanking. Sorry.
You guys can move directly by Voss.
Okay.
If it's a couple squares off, I'm not too concerned. Like, I know what you guys are doing. You make your way through the grass in that direction, and as you get close to Voss, you can see as well the bodies of the elves in the church there. Let's go with Dade next. 15 is good enough. Likewise, sir, you see the same horrid thing. Go ahead and move yourself. We'll go with Jorg next. 17. Not bad, sir. Did a nice 15 there. You may go ahead and move. You already knew about the bodies from your bird, so it's not that much of a surprise to you when you see them. And let's go with Keryl.
Sorry, guys.
Damn it,
2.
Keryl.
Wow. You want to use that dice?
You want that dice.
Yes, I do.
You want that dice.
God, that's like you fall down and
It's like, wow, 17's much better.
Yeah, it is.
You managed to
gonna be
make
a
your way over towards
long
your
trek up
compatriots.
there.
And here goes Rin. Ooh, he got a 7. We're going to reroll
He can
that.
take a dice.
There he goes. He got a 16.
There you go.
Much better. All right, so Rin has a couple of false starts,
This is the reason why we need the extra dice.
but you can't blame him. He makes his way over
around.
to all of you, and when he sees the corpses of the elves, he kind of tenses up a bit. He gets really upset.
I was actually about to ask, do I feel any connection towards the elves at all?
Well, yes, because they're living creatures that have been killed. Obviously, they've been murdered. So there's definitely a compassion. You don't feel any specific kinship to them, but it is a sad sight. Like, you will definitely feel like any person who comes across people who were brutally murdered, that does carry an effect, definitely. So you guys can go ahead and move all the way up along the side here. Essentially, the forces up north are all going towards this distraction. The only thing that you notice is that this ogre that's down south by you seems completely consumed in what it's doing. Literally, as you guys move past it, you realize that you'd have to attack it to even cause it to disturb its duties. The hobgoblin you guys pass is kind of out there. He's smoking like from a pipe. And as he's watching people in the north kind of go about their business, you hear him mutter, he's like, idiots. As you literally sneak right by him along the east side of this camp. Now, we move down to the next level.
Could we not get rid of them?
You could.
Right now, I want to. I made the plan. Anybody wants to deviate, they got to deviate because we're being quiet right now.
Well, that
So-
would actually be the thing. It would be a question from Nizdrith probably as we're getting to the stairs because there's nothing else over here by us.
I want to get down and potentially save people before we cause a ruckus and
Would
potentially
it-
cause them to be killed early.
Would it not be better to remove potential issues as we remove them from here before we get
No,
to that
because
point?
There is
if we alert
something
them-
evil and dark under here. We need to get them out now.
And if we
It's a
alert them up
priority.
here and they hear it down below, they may start executing people. We'll never
it-
get to them in time.
Be those knights you spoke of? Could this be one of their places?
For Keryl, this is
I
something
don't know.
very different. This is old
I know.
evil.
I made my statement. They want to debate knights and shit.
Let's keep going.
This is literally just
Yeah.
Nizdrith being curious at this point.
Hmm.
Like you say, it's evil, but what? What?
We're going to keep going.
Maybe there's another way out of here besides this stairway.
Maybe.
So you're all descending then?
Yep.
Right. You guys make it to the area around the stairwell, and you can see you're in what was probably a massive room of an old keep that was once here. The rock that's at your feet isn't so much rock, but tile, actually, that was at one point in time painted, but now it's all cracked with weeds growing up between it. It's completely lost any glory it once had. The fallen tower next to you looks like it crushed a large, like, raised dais that probably had some sort of effigy to the gods, because you can see statuary underneath it that has been crushed by the falling weight of this tower. The wall that you pass, on the inside of it, there are the old tattered remnants of tapestries that were once hanging up here that are clearly Solomonic. You can see the writing across the bottom of it as you guys make your way to the stairs. The stairs themselves are pretty much straightforward. They go straight down, and from down there you can see torchlight emanating up into the area. You guys descend. So this is what you see.
Okay. So
You can see what the light can see as it's going through. When you descend the stairs, you're in a small little, looks like a small room, and the stonework here is broken away at the southern wall that kind of grows into this cavernous underground series of passageways. Inside those passages, you can see these large burning braziers that are casting light over those walls. Now, these walls aren't worked once you pass the room that you're in. Looks like they have been carved roughly from stone, but there's definitely no like fine craftsmanship here. There are some walls which lead you to believe that maybe this met up with some other basements or perhaps even a dungeon that was down here below. But whatever it was that came down here to live has kind of just made tunnels that connect them all. And you can see a goblin kind of crouched down, over a small pile of old bones and is sifting through them. He's kind of chittering to himself like, that's not good enough. That's not pretty. And it just keeps on moving through all these old bones. And you hear like the clinkering of the stone as it gets bounced, like a bone will bounce off it as he tosses it to the side.
I'll look over at Voss. Can you dispatch of him quickly, or do you want me to try and put him to sleep?
I got it. I'm gonna try and sneak up on him and stab him.
Okay. That'll definitely do it. What's Voss doing?
Sneak up on him and shank him with my rapier.
Backstab.
Deploy the murder gnomes.
No, the murder gnome's still here.
So please, by all means, sir, go ahead and shank said goblin, the poor little bastard. So you got a 10.
Do you mind?
I will let you-
Oh no, use the D4
Oh, yeah.
that you got
The
from
D6.
Blast.
You got the bless.
Unless the minute is up, you're still blessed.
Nah, I think you're still blessed for this one go. We'll toss
Or
it
you
because
can-
that does take some time to get there, but we'll let you have
I
for
rolled
this
a
if you want.
1 on the.
You
So
can
11.
use his D4,
11.
and
You
you
have-
can use my D6.
You have Bardic Inspiration as well. Might be useful.
Let's try the bardic inspiration. Another 1.
Are you kidding me?
Seriously?
It's fucking
Well,
terrible.
so
What's this fucking thing's armor class?
normally it's 15. It's leather armor with shield, which
Damn.
means it's 14. but it's -2, so you just hit it with a 12.
Oh, sweet.
Okay.
Because it's going to not have its dex bonus. So you'll hit it with a 10. So go ahead. See how much damage you do with your rapier and your backstab and all your other crazy shenanigans. 9 damage.
17 damage.
17 damage. So you walk up
sneak
behind
attack.
this goblin as it's just kind of sorting through these bones on the ground and just kind of like muttering to itself. You pull your blade free of the sheath very quietly. It doesn't even do the shink. You just pull it out like a ghost and you line it up properly and just straight through the back. You hit him right through the back of the neck. Your blade protrudes out at the front of his throat. He gargles for a second and then you just slowly let him down as the body goes limp and pull your blade free. So Voss takes this goblin down. You guys can freely move. Nobody's alerted to your presence quite yet. There's a fallen column right next to the body that I think you
Right,
guys
I was just
can
gonna,
see.
Put it
I was
right
just
here.
gonna pull it right there.
All right, you guys pull the goblin's body over, hide it, make sure it's ducked down, behind the column.
I'll kind of sit behind the column and peek around, and I'll kind of. Do we actually? I see this guy, but do we actually see this guy? Because he's behind a little wall.
You see, you as you're walking around, you will see this hobgoblin just kind of chewing on a piece of dried beef, looking around, like none the wiser that anybody's there.
I'll just look at Voss and be like,
Hey, Ray.
Yes.
I'm going to take a bonus action and activate Blade Song.
Okay.
So now I'll
moves
just keep
down.
up with Voss. Completely.
All right, so you guys creep down. You can see as the light starts to fill some of these hallways around you, you can definitely see that stealth.
"Oh shitty."
Who was that? Voss that moved down there?
Yeah, of course
Yeah.
it's Boston.
Stealth.
Down there.
All right, hold 1 second though. As he's moving around, I'll have you roll stealth in just a moment. You see this torchlight fill this hallway that goes straight west of you, and way west, you can see that the hallway there branches into a north and south portion, but beyond that, it opens up into a large room, and behind that last opening up of the tunnel, you see this large blue, beautiful creature emerge from this basically this massive basin of blood, and it's just laughing and it's looking at itself as the blood is kind of dripping down its blue muscular arms. It's almost looking at itself like as if it's just been born, and there's this massive smile that spreads across its lips, and its eyes are glowing this like baleful red, and it starts to chuckle. Also, there's a bit more of this free carved tunnel that flows down south of where you're at, that extends further away from that main passageway that leads west. Now let's have you roll your stealth.
I got a 17.
Ooh. It's a tie. You're the protagonist. You're the hero. You will succeed. This creature will not see you as it emerges from its bloodbath.
I am going to, in light of this new information, instead of going to nail the hobgoblin first, I am going to go back and regroup with everyone to relay what I have seen, because this may change things.
Back up at the wagon, it's uneventful. Liam has gone from sharpening his swords to just kind of like pacing around the wagon, looking up at the moon, eating a bit of dried beef, basically being bored.
Figures. It's like I'll occasionally look off in the direction that the party walked off in.
So Voss sneaks down past this hallway and then makes his way back towards the rest of you.
So down the hall, it splits, but there was some like blue creature thing who got out of a bloodbath. Don't know what the hell that's about.
Like a fight?
Like a what?
A bloodbath. Like a fight. Bloodbath.
No, like an actual like a bath, like they were
A well
bathing in
filled with
blood.
blood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that
Guys.
means.
I don't know what that means either.
Carol, roll your history.
Oh, it's history, not arcana. Ignore those two
I
rolls then.
No, this is something specifically for
Oh, no.
him.
Blue-
Nisrith actually will not
Wow.
know what the fuck this is at all.
Oh, okay. So my proficiency in history is nothing.
Not for this. This is very specific. This is very specific to one
I
race.
would like to use a dice.
Okay, go ahead.
Nice roll.
19. Okay, so you have a couple things here that are starting to come together. One, a bunch of L's were taken.
Right.
Two, there's that feeling of just darkness and bad shit emanating from down here that you're not familiar with, but you know it's something to do with your people. 3, Keryl thinks back to the lessons that he had heard growing up, and especially embarking on a path that was leading to the gods and to mysticism. And you remember tales that there are ways that ogres had fallen from grace, who become the ogres that most people see out in the public, had found a way to reattain that state of grace at a very high cost. It requires the sacrifice of elves, elven blood, with their mystical and like supposedly good connection to the gods, that if they are sacrificed in the proper way, they can give a glimpse of that former glory to an ogre and transform their body into what looks like an Urda, but they're stronger and more powerful. They're called ogre titans.
Yep, I knew it.
They're a problem.
Yeah, they are. I'll just let out a quiet sigh. That sounds like an ogre titan they're making.
What?
I think all the
What is
elves
that?
down here are dead. They captured those elves specifically for a dark ritual to transform an ogre into an ogre titan.
In a
What the
temple
fuck?
that was once Salamnik.
Yeah.
What the hell is an ogre
Well,
titan?
it doesn't matter. They're using. It doesn't matter what they use, as long as they have something big enough for it to bathe in the blood of elves. In this dark and twisted ritual, they create an ogre titan, and it's worse than an ogre, and it's worse than a titan.
Worse, like we probably can't deal with it.
We can't let it live.
Rin kind of like crouches down.
They know how to do this. There's 2 more above ground. They just need more blood to enact the ritual. We need to at least kill everybody that knows how to make this ritual. And coming from me,
That's
a lot.
serious shit.
Yes. I hope the Blue Lady forgives me, but this has got to stop.
I wish Sybil had come with.
If there's a way, I wish there was a way we get her a message.
Like with a bird.
I could send.
Or the
I could
message
send
spell.
Singer.
Or,
I can.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
if that'll work.
Y'all are getting creative now. Shit, we need our fighter.
The closest thing you have to one right now is probably me.
I mean, just technically though, mechanically, I should be able to do that, right?
Yeah, I don't see an issue with it. You can send it out. You could, if you'd like to, like write down a note or something and give it to, the Raven, and it could deliver the message.
That's
Yeah,
where I was going to use
it's-
my second tinkering of the night to make the 25-word message
Sure.
and just attach it, have the bird carry it to Sybil.
Yeah, you whisper into the object you have the bird carry your message. The bird takes up. You hear its wings click a little bit as they kind of fluff out, and then it shoots up the staircase and into the night outside. So, Corey, you see the blackened clockwork raven that Jord created come back to the wagon. It descends out of the sky in the light of Solinari and lands next to you. What is the message that plays, Dave?
25 words. Count them out.
We have encountered something darkly evil.
Darkly is
Must
one word.
be stopped. Travel north to ruins. Watch out for ogres and goblins. We are below.
2 words.
Sorry, correction on that. We are in chambers below.
That's it.
One more.
Oh, 1 word. Sorry.
Stairs.
Hurry.
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 All right, so Sybil gets his message from the bird, and the bird just kind of looks up.
Oh, gods above and below.
Liam kind of pops around the back of the wagon. What's going on?
They're calling for backup.
You can go. I'm staying here.
Like, I look back and was like, if I come back here, you're dead.
Well, I tell you, if you come back and I'm dead, I'll be rightly pissed.
It's legitimate.
We'll finish the job at the very least. Promise. If everything's still here.
He'll just kind of fold his hands over his chest and just give you a nod. You do what you got to do, lass.
She'll grab her wave and start off at a trot towards the north.
You'll pass by the tent refugee camp that they went through, see the bodies that are there, and all the footprints leading north. You'll head north past that, and you'll kind of ride up on a small hill, and you'll see the ruins below that they saw. You can see that in the light of the moon, all these forces of goblins and a hobgoblin or two and an ogre have kind of congregated in the northwestern part of the ruins, and they're looking at a tree where you can hear just faintly a baby crying over and over again. And it's like, what is, they're like, what is going on? Oh, and the ogre's trying to shake the tree to knock it down. But you'll make your way up north along the side. The crows flying low towards the grass kind of give you like a guide, and it leads you to the set of stairs. From the stairs, you can see torchlight emanating.
I'll head down. I'll head down the stairs.
You guys hear footsteps descend the stairs. It takes probably about 15-20 minutes for this to happen. And you turn and see Sybil descending the stairs with her glaive.
As soon as she comes up to me, I'm just gonna look over at her. I'm gonna be like, "They made an ogre titan."
What's that?
Okay. You take an ogre, you drain the blood of about 20 elves into something that it can bathe in. Perform a dark twisted ritual, and emerging from that pool of said elven blood that has been sacrificed to the dark gods, emerges a ogre titan, which is a lot more powerful and has inherent spell-like abilities.
So
Really
a big
bad.
fucking problem.
It's a huge problem, and I just want you to take a minute and think to listen to this with the fact that I am a cleric of the Blue Lady. We need to kill them all, including the people that actually know how to perform the ritual.
You will kind of quirk a brow at that, and like, you
Totally
seriously,
dead serious face.
Nizdrith will actually look at Sybil and go, "It is very serious."
So,
Knowledge of this ritual needs to die.
how are we kicking this big?
They're all stuck in one small room, right?
I don't know how
Maybe.
big that. Voss, how big was that room? It had to be big enough for an ogre to bathe in it.
So
Hard to
larger
tell.
than
I only
15
got
feet.
it looks like it opened up pretty big. I couldn't see the whole thing. I just had a straight shot down the hall. So I would say at least from what I could see, 30 feet to the end back wall, and then who knows how wide from there. At least 25, 30 feet that I could see. I don't know where the hell that hobgoblin went.
Sybil, have you any exposure to any sort of assaults like this? Like any insight would be great. I don't know what we're dealing with.
Can we see this goblin down here?
Yes. You do see a goblin kind of wandered into your line of sight as you see the torchlights kind of illuminating those tunnels farther down to the south.
Dade,
There's still action to the south of us, so if we head west, they're gonna be. If they hear noise, they're gonna hit our. They're gonna be able to come up behind us.
Dade, it is a titan of an ogre that has
No, I'm talking
inherent
about
magical abilities.
No, I'm talking about like assault tactics. I'm not talking about what we're going against.
well, as near as I can say, as long as we don't know what its actual capabilities are, beyond what Keryl's told us, if it's got magic, the best thing I can say at the start of it is to spread out until we understand what its abilities are. Because if we're all clumped up and he decides to lob a fireball at us, we're all fucked.
I can block a hallway to stop others from coming. Well, sort of block a hallway to stop others from coming down it,
Well,
unless they want to be stabbed repeatedly.
who's heading in first is my question. And that's from Ren.
We're just going to be
Well-
lucky that it's
Well-
just been transformed, so it may not be as full capabilities yet. And that's only a hope. I don't know if the ritual brings them out as fully capable.
I'm perfectly content to go first and sneak ahead a little bit, but I need to know: are we going west towards it, or are we going south and clearing out whatever's down there first?
Why don't we go south so when we do tackle the west, hopefully nothing comes to help it.
Well, whatever's down there, we'll have to see what's down there first. But if it's enough to sustain with our numbers, we need to hit them hard and fast and make sure that nobody's the wiser.
When it comes to combat tactics, Sybil, I default to you. So make the call. We go west and attack it head on, or are we going south to clear it out first?
We go in and fight him right now. We have all of our full capabilities. Nobody's hurt. Everybody's at full strength. But if we get hit from behind, we get caught in a pincer. Not going to go well for anybody who's in the back. So, yeah, we should probably take care of the south first.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
see if I can sneak down and take out the goblin then down there.
Keep it as quiet and as quick as possible. Voss, just remember while you're creeping, and I will whistle to give him bardic inspiration.
How
Just
about you quietly
go
sing
with the
instead of
flow.
whistle?
Go with the flow, because it's a low whistle. Go with the flow. Bardic inspiration shot.
All right. Well, Ray, I'm gonna try and sneak down south and shank this goblin.
So as we can see, our cleric of Mashako is a bit on edge currently. Of course, seeing an ogre titan would do that to an Urda. After all, it is a very bloody rite that's somewhat reclaiming the beauty that the Urda that remains still possess, but also tainting it with pure evil and wickedness. Keryl really wants to get that Urda. Now that they're in the bowels of these ruins, we'll see if the cleric gets it.